All right, there we go. Put that behind me. Sick of that. Everything perfect. Finally going live, guys. Sorry I had a bit of technical difficulties here. Just getting everything set up, waiting for people to join, and then we'll start our reading of chapter 3. Yay, there it is. Perfect. Cool. All I needed. All right, everything is good to go, and we are set to begin. I do apologize for this technical difficulty that I had today. Just what happens when you buy a laptop from Walmart for $100. So, nevertheless, everything that's been going on in today's world, I really want to take a moment now just to basically reflect for George Floyd and everybody in America that's hurting right now in the world. Today we will be reading, actually, I decided not to do a excerpt reading. I looked as I was rereading my chapter 3, and I decided I'm just going to read chapter 3 today. It's not that long, it's not that um, difficult. So today I'm just going to do chapter 3, and we're just going to read all the way through. Sorry, there's something in my eye. And in this chapter, we only have two people that we're concerned about, and that is the host and the protector, Kenny and Christian. And without further ado, thank you all for joining, and I will begin my reading now. The next morning came very slowly for Kenny. His eyes were bloodshot red, and every clatter and bang from Sean going in and out of the laundry room irritated him. But he remained in bed, with his little fluffy burgundy blanket over his face. Moments later he heard the front door slam, and the car outside revved up and sped off. Grumpily, Kenny started his morning around 8 by splashing water on his face and half caring to go through the box marked "Important." When he came across a picture of William, he resigned from his unpacked room, turned the thermostat up in the hallway, and sluggishly went down to make coffee in nothing but his Scooby-Doo boxers. His slightly hairy chest was exposed in the semi-chill house, but Sean had a pot of coffee ready and a mug with the little rainbow lettered Castro for him and pumpkin spice creamer on the side. Kenny blessed his friend and sipped his freshly made coffee as he walked around the house. He knew his friend had a good job. He knew his friend had a good job, but didn't really pay attention to the things he bought. In the hallway beside the steps were pictures of Sean's family when he was a kid. His dad was tall and broad with no hair, his mother was slender and petite with long black hair. Neither of them fully smiled, and the baby Sean sucked his thumb, uninterested and looking away. There were another pictures of a short Puerto Rican man hugged on Sean's waist, both beaming fully at the camera on a yacht. Kenny remembered taking that picture. The only guy Sean had ever cared about, before a robbery had gone wrong that ended the guy's life, jolting Sean to find the people who did it. To Kenny's knowledge, the case was still open. On the small wooden table with the Thor candle holder, oh wow, with the Thor candle holder was a black and white headshot of Sean's grandmother. At the bottom of the steps were two white French doors that opened into the dining room, with a six-chair table full of discarded mail, pencils, and parcels. Kenny rolled his eyes, sipped his coffee, and lightly sifted through the pile. Sorry. Lightly sift through the pile. Credit card bills, advertisement, official mail from the United States government, judicial systems, lawyers, dentists, and a small blue envelope with an unknown person named Percival Bill. It was the only one opened and emptied. The boxes were all from Amazon and sat underneath the low-hanging chandelier. Once Kenny did a roundabout of the dining room, he entered the living room across the hall and just leaned against the fireplace. The wraparound couch set under the window with the white lace curtains opened the room with waves of light. The recliner was down and the mounted television had recently been dusted. He noticed a new picture sitting on the end of a fireplace. A new picture sitting on the end of the fireplace. Him and Sean were on top of the World Trade Center in New York City, making silly poses a month before the attacks. The picture seemed worn and a little faded, but it made Kenny smile to see it. The aquarium sparkled in the morning sun before a swift shadow caused Kenny to look out the front window. Christian was setting up a black ladder at the end of his house with the box full of orange items. He was in beige sweats, a black tank top, and a backwards British ball cap. Suddenly, he had begun fumbling with the box and items fell out. Kenny sighed and sank into the couch with his coffee, his back toward the window. He was too tired to put clothes on and have a conversation with a seemingly new stranger, let alone help. It was just too weird. Kenny pulled the remote from between the cushions and tried to look for something to watch, but all that he came across was the news and daytime talk shows and soap operas. He smacked his lips as the screen started to static in and out. Giving up, he cut the television off and grunted. I need a damn job. He placed his mug on the side table with the small ficus, got up to put on a gray cotton robe, and went outside in cow slippers after making a new cup of coffee. Christian was struggling to get orange lights to cling onto the gutters when Kenny strolled up casually. Good morning, neighbor, he nervously began as Christian looked down with a beaming smile. Hey, man, good morning. Could you hand me those clips in the box really quick? Preparing for Halloween, I see. Kenny handed the clamps over, sipping. My favorite holiday. I'm a sucker for Three Musketeers and just love when I can just gorge on a pound of them. I mean, it makes me sound like a little fatty, but anyways, this year I think I'm going to dress up as Superman. Kenny chuckled lightly. The holiday is okay with me. I don't care too much for kids, although, I would enjoy a little one of my own one day. He blushed and tried to retract his last statement, but Christian had already widened his smile, teeth glistening. So you want to be a dad, huh? Change the subject, please. Christian began streaming the lights parallel to the gutters and looked down at a gazing Kenny. You look like shit. Anything on your mind besides wanting to be a parent? Kenny sipped and shook his head. Christian abruptly climbed down and looked him in the eye, still with a wide smile. You really don't have to lie to me. And then he moved the ladder over and climbed back up. Kenny was flabbergasted and at a loss for words. The strong smell of lilac and lavender settled sweetly on his nose just as he noticed next door to his place. A cranky-looking woman rushed out of her blue pastel-colored home, guarded by rose bushes all over. Her head was always wrapped in a silk scarf, each day a different color and pattern, and a long sundress to match. Hello, Bonnie. Kenny waved, but the woman gave a half wave, retrieved her mail from the end of her porch, and shoveled back inside. Is she always like that? Christian asked, looking back at Bonnie's pastel house before noticing the mailman parking at the start of the street. What, a bitter old woman? Yeah. I think I'm gonna introduce myself to her next. Hopefully brighten her day like I did yours. Kenny blushed, blankly stared off at the house now. Well, don't expect her to invite you in or brighten anything of hers. Been like that ever since Sean bought the house from her parents before they died. I guess she wanted the land, but oh well. Christian had climbed back down and softly nudged Kenny out of his path. So, are you gonna tell me what's making you look like that? He asked, climbing back up to finish the lights. I haven't been able to sleep for a week, Kenny blurted out, which made Christian's face give a puzzled look. Have you seen a doctor about it? I mean, I doubt one would be able to help. I mean, it happens after this recurring dream I keep having, which I won't bore you with the details, but it just feels like everything that happens in that dream is real. Like my movements, the heavy air, the sharp thorns. Oh, God, I hate the sharp thorns. There was a moment when Kenny thought Christian had lost his footing, but it seemed to be a false alarm. He blinked anxiously as the guy on the ladder remained silent. Only once he was done with the lights and climbed back down did he finally speak. Would you mind helping me gut the pumpkins? But you're not the. Christian didn't even wait for the end of Kenny's rebuttal, but instead took him by his free wrist and led him inside. The hold felt oddly familiar to Kenny, but he was too fascinated by the inside of the house. Every room had been gutted and joined together to open the living room area up. Beaded curtains hanging where doors used to be. It looked like a huge remodel was being done by a hippie in every room Kenny passed except for the kitchen, which was all black granite tops and oak wood furnishings. A guitar case lay against the fridge, which was smaller and narrower than the stove. A tiny folded table set against the back window of the kitchen, with two mismatched chairs. Oh, I forgot to put that. Kenny was let go. Kenny was let go of the interest of the kitchen while Christian rummaged through every single one of his cabinets, leaving the doors ajar and talking to himself about the location of some random object. But the only one thing stood out to Kenny instantly. There were no pumpkins anywhere in this room. Found it! Christian exclaimed as he pulled from the topmost cabinet a small twisted iron box that creaked open slowly. Kenny had thought it was marijuana by the intense smell it emitted, but quickly found that that was not true. It was a big chunk of root with hairs that entangled themselves. What is that? He asked, sipping his coffee one last time before placing it down on the counter. Tea, the tall host beamed as he pulled a red plastic cup from the cabinet next to him and placing it beside the coffee mug. What kind of tea? You said you were having trouble sleeping, right? Kenny stayed silent. I take that as I'm right. So this baby here will help you get to sleep and feel rested afterwards. I think it's called Sierra Mandrake or something. He broke off a piece of mandrake, dropped it into the kettle already full of water, and replaced the box. Once he put the kettle on the stove, his attention was back on Kenny. Kenny, would you mind sharing what your dream is about? Kenny slowly walked over and sat at the table inside. It wouldn't make any sense. Well, try me. With another sigh, Kenny began chatting from the very beginning at being lost in the middle of a jungle of vines, being led by a hummingbird to a towering wall of thorns, and almost falling off the edge of a fire-gorged cliff. None of it made any sense to him, so he was sure it didn't make any sense to his neighbor either. Sounds very nerdy to me. Kenny blushed and deeply lowered his head. But you know, I'm the king of nerds, Christian continued, unaware of Kenny's reaction, since the kettle shouted, and he speedily poured a bourbon-colored liquid into the cup. Sit me in front of the Justice League or Spider-Man, and I'm sure I can recite each line to each episode. He placed the searing cup on the table and sat on the other side, staring at Kenny's lower head. I mean, X-Men, I could take or leave. He reached over and lifted Kenny's head with the knuckle of his index finger. Talk to me. Where did you come from? Uh, Winchester, England? No, I mean, what made you move here? Like, this house has been abandoned and condemned for years, and then suddenly you just pop up and everything is fixed? Kenny snapped his fingers at the word pop. These dreams keep getting more in depth, and it's starting to worry me, and there's chaos in my circles of friends because of something that you brought here. I mean, on one hand, Junior wants to be politically correct about every little thing, and his views on something very sensitive is just causing so much negativity. I mean, I woke up with 5 texts from my friend Teddy, who I mean you'll meet one day, but and 7 from Junior. Okay, what's the other hand? That I agree with both sides. I mean, I think we can fix our problems by trying something different than what we've been doing. What topics was this? Religion or politics? Prostitution. Kenny began to eye his cup. But we did briefly debate politics, and to which I did not get involved with. Smart guy, Christian smiled. Let your friends have their own opinions. I'm sure it's more than your differences that keep you guys together, and if I had to repeat it to the day I die, Then I will, but I'm not here to cause you any negativity. Plus, I think the tea is cool enough for you to drink now. Okay, so I drink this and go crawl into my bed? That's funny. Mandrake will almost instantly put you out if you don't. So if you don't mind, you'll be crashing on my futon in the snug. I kept that room closed off. Kenny grabbed a cuff and snipped it. He made out a little nutmeg and chamomile. For some odd reason, I don't feel scared that, you would try to carve my body into a bunch of small pieces in this snug of yours. That's very dark, but no, you shouldn't have any worries around me. I have no intentions of hurting you, ever. But Kenny didn't catch the last part of the but Kenny did not catch the last part or care for his unanswered question, for the mandrake tea worked just as instantly as it said it would, and he passed out on the kitchen table with a light thud from Christian's palm, who had reached out to cushion his dropping head, ultimately carrying him into the den. The dream began immediately with the lightning bolt striking the side of the cliff, causing it to crumble under Kenny. He reached for a hanging vine, but it missed as the feeling of his stomach sank, along with his body. But just as he was seeing his life end horribly in the fires below, he was caught suddenly by his wrist. Wind flushed his eyes, and it made it difficult to see, but all he could make out was a dark silhouette before being pulled safely, resting against a vine wall. Everything became abruptly still, and Kenny sat there looking into Christian's smiling face. He wasn't in a tank top or jeans or a hat anymore, but dressed in a leather suit knee length completed with a knee-length coat of two tails and a head full of short, curly black hair. A katana locked in a brown sheath housing a small ninja star on the handle rested on the utility belt looped around his side with the pistol crossbow that he saw. The hummingbird angrily pecked Kenny's head and buzzed toward his savior. Are you okay? Where did you come from and how are you in my dream? Kenny rubbed the top of his head, just glaring at the hummingbird perched on Christian's shoulder. It's a bit complicated. He stood before pulling Kenny to his feet. Something that I don't think you're really ready to hear now. He whipped out the katana and sliced effortlessly into the wall, opening up into a huge mash of darkened jungle, with the tall shadow of a tower that was pulsating light deep over the rolling mountains on the misty horizon. When they stepped over the threshold, the light snapped out and darkness covered the area, with only the stars above to shine the way. Why aren't you answering my questions, Kenny bawled. This is my dream, which I'm still puzzled how you got here. Maybe it's because you're the last person I saw before I fell asleep. Ah, yes, 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 that would explain it. That would explain it. It does. It's okay. Dream Christian. I think you're the most attractive man right now I've ever met, and I really want you. Christian snickered for a few moments before erupting into laughter, pushing through the brush and cutting down thick hanging vines. The hummingbird had buzzed ahead to examine the path. As flattered as I am for any normal person, Kenny, yes, this would be a dream. But for you, it's not. What? Without saying too much, because I can't, just know that you are very, very exceptional. And you can pretty much do extraordinary things. For some reason, you're just not ready yet. Ready for what? Christian shrugged and changed the direction with the rocky path slicing every now and then. Whatever you are on this journey for will answer that. Just do me a favor, will you? Kenny stayed silent, trying to figure out if he was truly dreaming or if the mandrake tea was causing these sudden feelings of certainty, but he remembered reading in the book, dreams always feel realest when you sleep the hardest, he kept telling himself. Kenny, what? A favor? Sure, what? Don't tell any more people about this. Why? Kenny hopped over a large root on the way. It's just a dream. Christian spun around, causing Kenny to collide with his chest. It isn't a dream, Kenny. Look, you see that tower over all the way in the distance? He nodded slowly. We are going there together. I was sent here to help you get there because in that tower will unlock the answers that I don't have for you. They began walking again. You said these dreams started a week ago, right? That says a lot, especially when I wasn't even informed about this till a few days ago. Informed? Do you see the jungle around you? Who were you informed by? Do you see it? Yes or no? We are walking through the damn thing. Of course I see it. This isn't any place in California, North America, or the world even. I'm not even entirely sure where it is exactly, but I know we are not on the physical plane anymore. More like a divine one, I guess. Kenny's hand began to Kenny's head began to throb, and he soon realized that it would hurt whenever he woke up. You projected yourself here, man. The first sign of your power awakening. Okay, just stop. Kenny halted and refused to move, shocking Christian to backtrack. What are you talking about? Who are you and where did you come from and what are you talking about? I'm not moving until you start talking and not in circles, please. The tall gentleman sighed, housed the katana back in the sheath. You were chosen, he started. Chosen to do something incredibly great. I don't know exactly what before you ask, but I do know that it has something to do with some war that happened a lifetime ago, eons ago. But the others, feared for your existence and the power you hold, were so you were bound, uh, feared for your existence and the power you held, so you were bound powerless until the signs that peace was breaking started to show. This place being one of them. I was sent from them by their orders. You sent yourself here though, Kenny, and you can always send yourself back. I was just to make sure that that happened without harm. Chosen? Power? The others? Oh, this is a lot. He plopped onto the ground in frustration. Well, I could talk about it more if you want to keep moving. Kenny looked up at Christian and frowned into his eyes. You still haven't told me who you are. Andre Christian Archer. He bowed deeply with a satisfying smile. Your avowed protector. Thunder rumbled from behind them unexpectedly, and it snapped Christian into attention, pulling Kenny to his feet by his forearm and moved with speed through an open path carved out by the hummingbird's razor-edged wings. Christian praised his pet as they progressed with more speed as the thunder seemed to be moving closer, rattling the ground beneath them. Kenny felt the winds begin to pick up as they jumped over another route down another path. He heard rain falling in the distance, but it seemed to make Christian break off into a run, pulling him into one as well. The two ran as fast as they could, thunder over the top of their heads, ground shaking violently, and the winds picking up speed. Just as soon as a raindrop fell onto Kenny's shoulder, Christian yanked him into a hidden cave, blocked from view by hanging twisted vines. That single raindrop had eaten a small green hole in the Miami Heat shirt before running out of strength. To Kenny's horror, the hidden entrance of the vine began being eaten up by the acid that fell on top of it. All the brush and the vines they ran through were being shriveled away, with more thunder echoing in the cavern. The hummingbird ruffled her feathers as she nestled in Christian's inside jacket pocket, while the two stared in awe at the destruction of the jungle. This isn't a dream, Kenny softly asked, not taking his eyes off the huge horizon of foliage vanishing in a thick cloud of acid. I'm afraid not. Christian looked down at him, but we have to keep moving. However, a sudden crack and flash of lightning separated the two, violently causing Kenny to fall awake out of his own bed, wrapped in his gray robe. He groaned as he hit the floor again face first, and scrambled to look at the clock, but the cloudy sky told him that the sun was still up. Quickly he peered out his window across the street and saw no movement, or anything at all. Christian's house looked completely deserted. No lights hung on the gutters, no perfectly hedged bushes, no curtains on the windows, and another for sale sign back in front of the house. Kenny jolted out of his house, still in his robe, across the street, peering in each window. No furniture or hanging beads were anywhere in the house, or any sign of a folded table, or a guitar, or a small fridge, or remodeling. He couldn't believe anything he was seeing. Where did his new neighbor go? He checked his cell phone for the first time, and it had barely turned noon when he confusedly re-entered the house. With the phone still in his hand, he rushed again to his room and fished out Christian's cell that had been written on the back of a PG&E business card, but the number was disconnected. Defeated and confused, he collapsed onto his bed and listened to the soft patter of drizzle that began hitting against the roof. Rubbing the corner of his eyes in frustration, he picked up his cell phone again and dialed to save contact. Sean, he groaned, I need you to find someone. And that, my dears, is chapter 3. And I will say that chapter 3 was really when I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed writing it. I had to do a lot of rewrites with that dream sequence though, and ran into a little sentence that I had to keep rereading until I made it sound like I wanted to make it sound. But I really enjoyed this chapter, and it gets more intense as we continue. There's, still backstories to be told, and still little subplots to be going through, but that dream gets more intense. We start to know more about his ex William, and we start to know more about who this Percival Beale is. Percival Beale, who I name Percy. So I'm excited. I'm excited for chapter 4 to read with you guys. And I really don't have a planned date yet. Maybe next Saturday, but still. I'm very happy to share this art with you, share the love with you. You guys are amazing, and continue to share the art. I have snagged over 100 copies so far. So keep the love flowing. I thank you all for joining me for this reading of chapter 3. If you enjoyed it, please share. Please leave your uh, love, and I will hope to see you guys next time. I will stay tuned for when I let you know when that will be. Uh, but thanks, and let's all love each other. George Floyd did not have to die. Have a good Saturday, and Shabbat Shalom.